guys, it's Raleigh here. Today, I'm doing something a little different. I decided to challenge myself by playing a game of chess against a 1,300 rated player. That's way below my skill level, but why not? Time to see how he stacks up. The game begins with an unconventional opening. I opt for d3, leading to a reversed London system or a variation of the call system with a different move order. This move leads to a flexible but somewhat passive opening. He responds with d6 and prepares for a flexible setup, perhaps aiming for a perk or king's Indian defense structure. f4, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, and h3. I opt for a reverse stonewall attack or a variation where the king's knight is developed before the pawn. The move h3 is prophylactic, preventing bishop g4, but it's not common in this setup and might be considered a slight weakening of the king's side. Knight d7 and g4. An aggressive pawn push aims to control the center and gain space on the king's side, but it creates weaknesses, especially if he can counterattack effectively. b6, he starts to mobilize the queen side pieces, potentially aiming for a fianchetto on b7, which is typical in systems where black wants to counter white's central control from the flanks. e4, bishop b7, and c4. I commit to a more classical pawn center, but this also opens lines for his bishops. e6, knight c3, and knight e7. This move seems to be aimed at supporting the f5 push, but it somewhat blocks the dark squared bishop's influence. Bishop e3 and f5. This central counterattack is bold, but it opens up the f-file for my rook and bishop, potentially to his detriment. Bishop g2 and bishop take the c3 check, a critical error by black. This exchange gives me a semi-open b-file, and the doubled c-pawns can potentially control key central squares. b takes c3, f takes e4, knight g5, and knight c6. A significant blunder. This move allows me to exploit the e6 square, leading to a material gain with knight takes e6. Queen c8, d4, rook g8, d5, and knight d8. His response is defensive, but does not prevent me from increasing pressure. The rook on g8 is somewhat misplaced here. Knight g5, h6, and knight takes e4. I follow up with precise moves, leveraging the knight on g5 for tactical threats and material gain. Knight f7, queen e2, queen d8, bishop d4, queen h for check, king d2, castle, and bishop f3. A less optimal choice compared to queen e1, which would have kept the pressure high. Here, my advantage is still significant, but the attack could have been sharper. Rook ge8, rook ae1, queen e7, queen d3, and knight c5. A tactical oversight leading to the loss of a piece. This move does not address the threats on the e-file or the potential forking of the knight. Knight takes c5, b takes c5, and rook takes e7. After this exchange, his position collapses due to the lack of defensive resources and the now exposed king. Rook takes e7, bishop f6, rook d8, bishop takes e7, rook takes e7, queen takes g6, bishop a6, rook e1, rook takes e1, and queen f5 check. My queen's maneuver here is part of a forced sequence leading to a mate or significant material gain, showing excellent coordination between the remaining pieces. King b7, king takes e1, knight d8, queen d7, bishop takes c4, a3, a5, queen takes d8, a4, queen e8, bishop e3, f5, king b6, f6, and he resigned. There's no way he can stop that pawn. His game was plagued by tactical misjudgments, particularly in the middle game, leading to material losses and positional weaknesses. I effectively used space advantage, open lines, and piece activity to transition from a solid opening into a winning middle game and a straightforward endgame. My endgame play was precise, focusing on creating mating threats and using the queen and pawns effectively to force them into an untenable position. The game illustrates several tactical themes like discovered attacks, pin exploitation, and space advantage leading to a decisive advantage. My higher rating at that time was 2020 and my opponent 1341 was reflected in the strategic and tactical play, where I capitalized on his inaccuracies and tactical mistakes. So, if you ever get the chance to play against someone way below you, don't be afraid to take it. Don't be scared to lose some rating. It's just a number. One thing is for sure, they will learn from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.